I heard about this lady. It was an old lady. She had problem with the car. The car got locked with a key inside. So she was locked out of her car. She was desperate. She needed to go to a medical appointment. She didn't know what to do. She couldn't open it. So what do you do when you don't know what to do? You pray to God. So she prayed to God to find a solution. But at that time, rough man riding a motorcycle, bushy beard, offensive tattoos and everything. He stopped there and said, "May I help you?" And she said, "Well, the car is inside. I cannot open the door." He got there 5 seconds. He unlocked the car. And she said to the man, "Thank you so much." And she said to God, "Thank you, God, for sending me such a nice man." The guy said, "What are you talking about? I just got out of jail for auto theft." And then she said to God, "Thank you, God, because you sent me a nice man and a professional." So I want to talk to you today about help along the way. Just remember that, help along the way. And I want to remind you what we read last week, because this week's parsha is basically a continuation. If you don't have the context of last week's parsha, it's very difficult to understand what happened this week. Okay? So last week we started to learn about Joseph. And we started also to learn about his personality. It was very interesting to learn about him. We know that he had great aspirations and he has all these dreams about his future, which is great. It's great when we have aspiration, and it's great when we want to do something great with our lives. And so he has these dreams. And I don't know, I guess he thought it was a good idea to share those dreams with his brothers, right? Now, we know that Joseph was brilliant, talented, with a vision, but all what it generated was jealousy, bitterness, and his brothers mocking him. I'm pretty sure they call him many names. The Torah is good enough to spare us from those names that he was called. All what it says that one of the nicknames or one of the names that the brothers used to call Joseph is, "Hala, here comes the dreamer," but in a bad way. Dreamer in a bad way. And it's interesting. It's interesting that we discovered this talented young man in Joseph, but then at the same time, this jealous brothers, so bitter because they couldn't stand having such a talented person next to them. But the interesting thing is, thank God, not everybody in last week's parsha and in this week's parsha is going to be like Joseph's brothers. We discover that the brothers were so jealous that they sold him as a slave, and then they actually tricked their father, making him believe that Joseph was killed by a beast after he was sold as a slave. Fast forward to Egypt. Potiphar bought him, an Egyptian man. And Potiphar was not at all like Joseph's brothers. Potiphar was able to discover Joseph's talents, but instead of being jealous of him, he encouraged him, he motivated him, and put Joseph in charge of his household and in charge of all his business. And Joseph thrived there. And the Torah says that Potiphar's business did better because of Joseph. So I guess Potiphar was fundamental in Joseph's life, because he was the first one to believe in Joseph. Well, long story short, you know what happened. Potiphar's wife tried to get different kind of advantage from Joseph, and Joseph was rejecting her all the time. Eventually, she couldn't get it any longer, so she accused Joseph of rape. Totally false, but nevertheless, Joseph, a foreigner in Egypt, he was thrown to jail. But then we discover another character in the jail. That is the jailer that, interestingly enough, was just like Potiphar, was a person that discovered very quickly Joseph's talents. And also the jailer believed in Joseph and also gave Joseph an opportunity and put Joseph in charge of the jail to be the administrator of this Egyptian jail. And it was amazing. And it was amazing. But then this week's Parsha, we met another character that also learned very quickly to discover Joseph's talents and to believe in Joseph. And that was Pharaoh. Pharaoh realized that Joseph was amazing. He was brilliant. He was talented. And he could be a great asset for Egypt. So Pharaoh put Joseph in charge of all Egypt. And thanks to that decision from Pharaoh, thanks to all the encouragement from Pharaoh, Joseph brought blessing and prosperity for millions in all, not only in Egypt, in all that area. But this is the interesting thing, because everything started with a dream, right? Joseph had this dream that he has all these people around him bowing down to him. And he thought that those people who were there to serve him, right? But I believe that after all the experiences that he had with Potiphar, that helped him so much, with the jailer that helped him so much, with Pharaoh that helped him so much, something in Joseph started to change. And he realized that that dream didn't mean that people will be around him to serve him. He will be in the middle to serve them. And Joseph learned how to help others in the same way that he found along the way people that helped him. So this, I think, it's an amazing thing that it should make us at least ask ourselves, are we more like Joseph's brothers, or always jealous of other people, always wearing them down, always discouraging them as soon as we discover how talented they are? Or are we more like Potiphar, or like the jailer, or even Pharaoh, that whenever we discover somebody that is talented, maybe even more talented than we are, we encourage them to be even better? But realizing that when we help other people succeed, everybody benefits from that. So who are we? Are we like Joseph's brothers? Or are we like Potiphar, the jailer, and Pharaoh? This is a very interesting question, because we realize, and I think this is the message that it gets from this parsha, that we should do whatever we can to help other people succeed, to make other people better. And I realize that we cannot help everybody, but I'm pretty sure that based on your own personal talents and skills, at least you can help somebody in your life. So it's very important to realize what we have to contribute so we can make somebody else's life better. And this message, it resonates even more when we are celebrating the festival of Hanukkah. Do you know that back then in the Talmudic times there was a big dispute between the house of Hillel and the house of Shammai? The house of Shammai said to celebrate Hanukkah, you have to start with eight lights on the first night, and then 7 on the second, 6 on the third, and so forth, until the last night of Hanukkah you finish with 1. That's not the way we celebrate it, right? Because the house of Hillel said, no, should be all the opposite. We should start with 1 candle on the first night, and we end with 8 on the 8th night. And you know why? Hillel said, we should do that because we should always aim to increase and never to decrease. And I believe that this principle is not just for Hanukkah. That principle should be present in our lives every day. We are here to help others to increase, to shine more, and not to try to do whatever we can so they will shine less. So this is a beautiful message that we learn from the Parsha and from Hanukkah. We are here to help the world to increase the light, to increase the blessing, to increase what everybody can do. So this is an invitation for us. In this season, I guess that we call this season a season of sharing, right? Well, it's an invitation for us to share with others so we can add light and we can add blessings to this world. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Chag Chanukah Sameach.